Wrong un. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. We will get to your comments in a moment, but I have to say that something's going on with YouTube. They're at it, and I normally have my comments set up so that I can read them. So they're the big fonts. And what have they done? They put them back to 10 point, I think it is, in the fonts. So I'm going to struggle a bit. Don't know why they've done that, but you know, walking backwards into obscurity, I think. Going to give myself a pat on the back. Had my first 10,000 view post on X today. So the future is looking like Twitter. If you're not on there, I'll be gentle with you. But if you are, it's at Adrian Allen. Proper name, not Theatre of the Mind. So we'll get to your comments in a moment. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. The next live is this coming Sunday. No idea of the date. It's going to be in November at some point. Is it November 3rd? Stuart says YouTube are always at it. Yeah, I know. They've done some things today, and I've had some emails from them saying, if you do this, you should do this, and you should do this. They're just after money. I don't monetize these lives, but they still want me to make money. As in, make money for them, not for me. So I'm going to take a couple of days and reflect on what they're at. They tried to get me. They offered me £1,600 if I would take memberships on the channel. They were going to offer me 800 quid just for opening up memberships, and then they were going to give me another 800 quid once I got a 100 memberships. No, I'm not for being bribed. GB Patriot says, "Evening, Adrian. Amazing how Starmer says, don't discuss Southport. Yet MPs from all sides of the House commenting on it on the media. My opinion is police MI5 covered up what they knew." Interesting, GB Patriot. Obviously, we can't talk about the case per se, but we can talk about the political response and the policing response in general terms, because that's how you get around sub judice. Aha, very insightful. That's why memberships are getting pumped on YouTube. In the field, yes, they're they're trying to bribe you. Well, not me, because I'm not for bribing or being bribed. They were offering free money, 800 quid to start, and then once you got to 100 memberships, and I could have easily done that with my subscription rate on here, they would have given me another 800 quid. And I just thought, no. Because I know with my super likes and my super chats and stuff, they take 30% of it. Whatever you donate, they take 30% of it. And I always welcome support to the channel, but I don't know. It's there's just as a little aside, Alphabet, which is the parent company for YouTube, I think they were or are about to announce their quarterly and or their yearly earnings. Let's see how they're doing. But the chairman or the chief exec of Alphabet, Sundar Pichai, I think his full name is, he rang Donald Trump on Friday just to, hello, Donald, yeah! Good question, Stuart. If I contribute to this channel, I expect AA to get all of it. Me too, to be fair. Oh, I haven't got me. But no, that's how it works. They take money left, right and centre. It's a bit like when I used to do the bits and pieces on on eBay. You would pay 10% fees to them, and then you would pay another 5% or something to the money people. And they've had to stop that because there's other channels coming on going, no, you can post for free, Vinded and the like. Oh, no, you can sell for free on here. And they've obviously lost a load of money. So a couple of weeks ago, got an email through saying, oh, if you want to sell more on eBay, and in lockdown, I sold quite a bit. if you want to sell more on eBay, then we're not going to charge any fees. Aye, right, Foxtrot Oscar. Anyway, you're sidetracking me. You're wrong. Mad Matt UK, good evening, Adrian. The Battenberg for me this evening. No Battenberg for Mad Matt UK this evening, as I'm feeling slightly rough after the budget. Hope you're well. Thank you, Mad Matt UK. We can talk about the budget tonight if you wish. I thought about doing a sort of deep dive into it, but I mean, I watched it all. God, she's boring. I mean, is she married? She can't be. How dull. I wonder if she just lies there. Put me night down when you're finished. I mean, the woman's dull. And I thought, how can you sex this up? You can't. How can you make it interesting? You can't. We just want to know how much we're going to be rogered. And by how much? Is it like, Big Dick Diddy? Or is it just like, Bojo, a bit of humping for 30 seconds, a bit of squealing, and we're all done? So, what was it one of my exes said? 2 pumps and a squirt. So, I just... I watched it all. I won't get that 1 hour, 20 minutes back. And I did it to kind of do a deep dive tonight. I did think about doing a live while she was on. Honestly, it was TV to slash your wrists by. A whole new shiny penny off a pint insulting post by Labour. I get it. So the poor farmers, I am going to talk about it. I want to do some of your comments first because I always enjoy them, and I enjoy both your humour and your insight, to be fair. Tracy, the celibate sinner, I may be a few minutes late for the Wednesday sermon on the Mount. We love a sermon on the Mount. I've been told by Reverend Mother I have to give Father Kirkpatrick oral holy orders. No doubt I will have a lump in my throat. You might have a lump on the back of your neck. Tracy the celibate sinner. Yeah, utter wrong. Stuart says, evening, Rev. I'm ditching the Battenberg. What's going on? What's going on? There's a distinct lack of Battenberg enthusiasm this evening. Just have a curly whirly. It's what comes out the other end anyway. I'm ditching the Battenberg this evening and moving to Toblerone. Toblerone. When you put it in, when you pull it out. What, you've never tried that? Well, every day's a school day. So Stuart is he's moving over to Toblerone because that's his favourite. I'll save the Battenberg for Sunday. Not turning my back on it. I'd never forget the Battenberg. You see. Leah says, where's Leah gone? Leah says, "Hello, Adrian. Hi, all. Keen to get your take on this year's autumn budget." Oh, yeah, we definitely will. It might be piecemeal during the live because it was just dull, man. Dull. And the poor farmers, touch your toes, we're going in. And it was kind of a Blair. I would suggest that today's budget was kind of a Blairite budget. It was sort of, well, do you mind if I just kind of throw bits in and then you can respond in the chat if you wish? Because I wanted to talk about later on about something called the PFI, the Private Financial Initiative, which Tony Blair introduced. It wasn't that god-awful, boring man, Gordon Brown. Oh, that woman. Yeah, that's the bloke that sold off our gold reserves at the bottom of the market. Prat. I was going to use a word beginning with T, but kind of restrained myself. And I heard Robert Reeves go, oh, yes, we're pumping money into and we're getting all this inward investment. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. We had this in 1997. And I was like, hang on, investment. What's that another word for? Taking money out of the bloody country. They're going to buy our assets. That's inward investment from outsiders, like the French and our water companies, like the French and our utility companies, like the French and bloody transport systems. So, and the dustbin men and stuff. So local councils have all got French fingers in their I do hope they're not Macrons, knowing what I do about his missus. And I just know that they're going to sell off our silverware. So watch them, because they're saying, oh, and I'm going to give you an example. Oh, yes, we've got all these billions coming into the country. It was wonderful. It's wonderful. So how much are they getting in their back pocket? If there's like billions coming into the country for investment, what are they getting in return? No, fill you in. You haven't missed anything yet. We're just getting going. What are these investors getting in return? So I will tell you a story. PFI. So basically, private money comes in and they invest in building a new hospital, say, because I'm going to use that as an example. Build a new hospital. So they pump, say, 10 billion for an arbitrary figure. 10 billion, build a hospital. And they build the hospital, shiny, new, wonderful. And then the taxpayer has to pay an extortionate amount of money in rent for the hospital, while the person or persons or company or companies that invested the money, the PFI, the private financial initiative, are making shit tons of money out of us. So we're busting our buns to pay taxes. And what are the politicians doing? They're playing fast and loose with our coin, our taxes, and giving them to foreign companies so that they can take money out of the system. That's how it works. That's what politics is. Politics is just a money laundering exercise, because I am going to also give you, have a guess which politician, whilst being an MP, has made £10 million. I'm going to give you the answer to that. I'm not being cheeky. I'm going to give you the answer to that in just a little while. Cheeky little fucker. Just explain something to me. How do you make £10 million? Oh, if you're a non-dom, you don't pay your taxes on it. How did he make £10 billion? Did I say billion? £10 million whilst being an MP. 10 million. Ooh, I think we could have a million guesses as to how he made that. Anyway, Gogs on, your comments. Viv Kenyon in my pew. Oh, Viv is in her pew. Ready. Born ready, Viv. I'm in my pew, ready for our Rev's take on the budget. Gonna be a good one. Brace yourselves, Sheila. Australian foreplay. Welcome, Viv. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Cullen Boo. Hey, everyone. Anyone got any good news this week? Hey. Hope you and Mrs. A are well. Thank you, Karen Boo. Yeah, we're very good. We're very good. I know this is like TMI, but the house today has a certain ambiance, because what you know, those slow cooker thingies. The new Mrs. Allen chucked a whole load of something in one of those slow cooker things, and my goodness, the house has smelt absolutely fabulous. Beef casserole, I think is the technical term, but geez, oh, smells fabulous. Might have some when I finish this live, and the beef stew. Rich says, oh, I've been waiting for this all day. Adrian, give them both barrels. They're getting 3 barrels, Rich. I'm having it every which way tonight. God, as I said a little earlier, I watched that bloody Robert Reeves, man. Oh, my life. And here, can I just ask a question between friends? What was Keir Starmer on today? Was he on any gear? I mean, he was all but gurning. He was looking up at the rafters. I mean, I know there's people up there because I've been there myself. But he was just staring at the space. Either the missus has gone, oi, you fat tart, get out the house. I've had enough of you. She's either kicked him out, Lady Starmer, or something is going on in the background. But honestly, if you managed to see any of him today in Parliament, looked like he was on something. Might have just been strong coffee. Who am I to judge? Rich, your Twitter feed today was brilliant. No prisoners were taken, and don't blow a blood vessel tonight. Rich, I promise. Well, there is every chance. We are going to talk about Southport, but not Southport, just Southport. We're going to talk about the response from the politicians and the speaker, Lindsay Hoyle. We're going to talk about a right royal connection because I've worked something out tonight. Oh, the brown stuff's going to hit the fan. That's why you've not been hearing much from her, but we're definitely getting stuck into that. We're going to talk about Robert Reeves and the and that budget today. I made loads of notes, loads of it. Felt like topping myself. We're going to talk about Rumble in the Jungle. Do you know it's 50 years to the day that Muhammad Ali took George Foreman on? Now, some of the parishioners might not be old enough to remember that, because 50 years was 1974. 1974. Charlie's Love Child. Who's Charlie's Love Child, Alan? No, not what, the Australian. No, not him, but it's still a right royal connection. It's like Royal Connect 4. All will be revealed. And the Royal Connect 4. Honestly, my gags are crap tonight. We're going to talk about, Rumble in the Jungle. I don't know whether you're old enough to remember 1974, 2 years before the hottest summer in the world ever. Seemingly, we were being baked by the sun. I know we are, and we can talk chemtrails if you want, but we hardly ever see that big orange ball in the sky because there's too much cloud. We can talk about President Poopy Pants because that boy done half drop himself in it. And I know he's not very happy with camel toe, but he's still... it's American politics is brutal. Absolutely brutal. Cassius Clay, Rocky... who said that? Hang on. Let me get to your comments because I'm really excited for tonight. And by the way, they found Noah's Ark, seemingly. Talk about that, bit of history. And we also have more things that make you go, Going to talk about those. Thank you, Rich, about the Twitter feed. I am more active on Twitter than I am on YouTube at the moment, although I am trying to work out things on YouTube because yesterday, when they, hang on, what day is it? Wednesday. Yesterday, when they were talking something Southport related, I tried to get a video up as quick as I could, and it hit the wires, and I was right there, literally to the second when it hit the wires. So I just did a quick video. It's up there from yesterday. It took me best part of an hour to record it, edit it, and that took me about 3 minutes. And then it took over 30 minutes to upload to YouTube. By which point, all the news channels were on it. They were on it like a car bonnet. And I just thought, I can't, this system that YouTube uses, it's there for, Mr. Beast and people doing videos that are long form, but they don't need to be, they're not time critical. As where on my X feed, I can literally get something out in a millisecond. I can say something, bang, post. Say something, bang, post. I can post videos, bang, 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 bang. I can put 20 or 30 videos and comments and bits and pieces on Twitter every day. Here, that's why I just do the lives at the moment, because I can't find a way of not wasting my time at 6 and 7 hours to get a video up on YouTube. There are lots of ideas that I have, but it's just the amount of time that you throw down this abyss to get something up on YouTube, which is why I love doing the lives and I love talking to you. But doing the other videos, I know I used to do a lot more, but I'd be spending 7 days. Somebody told me that YouTube were getting strict on the length of videos. No. What they've done is so the comments on the lives, the comments on the videos, it's going to be on the community tab. They're changing things around because they want things to be more community. What they have done with the videos, so I'm led to believe, is that shorts have been extended to 3 minutes. So it used to be 60 seconds. And there's been times when I've put videos on YouTube not wanting them to be shorts, and I've had no other choice because they've been less than 60 seconds. They've automatically come up as a short. So the reason why the video that I uploaded yesterday was 4 minutes long was because it has to be longer than 3 minutes, otherwise it goes into the shorts. And I think they're pushing short videos because it's only my view, but there's every chance that TikTok is going to be no more in America come January or February, because they're trying to ban it, aren't they? I mean, they're trying to ban Telegram and X and TikTok in America because they just don't like freedom of speech, even though they've got it in law in America. Freedom of speech is the First Amendment. So they're trying to get rid of it. And if they get rid of TikTok in America, there's going to be a whole audience that's going to come to YouTube. So I think they're preparing for TikTok being flattened in America. And the most wealthy Chinese person is the guy that owns TikTok. There's a Chinese man that is the richest man in China because he owns TikTok. So that's how powerful it is. I'm kind of looking at it thinking, all right, well, maybe we need to play more with the shorts. Anything less than 3 minutes goes into the shorts. The French already have is that Tracy the celibate sinner? I think, haven't France banned Telegram? Have they banned TikTok? Because the left, without being too political, the left are trying to flatten and get rid of any chance of free speech. So me being able to say this to you and give you my opinion, and my opinion has been born from 40 years in the media, they don't want that. They don't want me telling you the truth. They don't want me telling you about the Ben Gurion Canal and the oil and the gas under the Caspian Sea, under the Gaza Strip, under the East Mediterranean, under the Black Sea and Crimea, and that's what Russia's all about. If I've written it down, I am going to talk about Putin, because although he was grimacing at the BRICS meeting last week with the Chinese and the Indian and the South Africans, he's not a happy boy at the minute. Especially after Robert Reeves saying, oh yeah, we're going to give £3 billion every year until we don't have to anymore to the Ukraine. Really? And the old dears are going to freeze to death during the winter? Ooh. So let's ask a very pointed question of the politicians. How much you being paid, you thieving twats? Using my taxes to prop up a proxy war? No, the wonder this politician... Well, no, I can't say that, actually. Nearly got me into a world full of trouble. Anyway, let's get to your comments. Jules D. Evening, Jules. Kathy Hartback. Good evening, all. Good evening, Kathy. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Chris Mundy. Oi, oi. You're wrong. Andrew James. I don't know... it won't affect many drivers, but increasing bus fares will affect us paupers. Me too. I quite like, although obviously I've got a car standing at the door, but I quite like going on public transport every now and again, because sometimes, you can get chatting to people. I'm obviously the nutter on the bus. Have you ever seen, is it Jasper Carrot? The nutter on the bus. I'll talk to anybody, me. I love just going out and meeting strangers, bus stops, buses, trains. Love a good train, me. But I agree with you, Andrew. It's gone up 50% from £2 to £3. They're absolutely nailing the pensioners. They're taking all the joy out of the pensioner's life. Why are they doing that? Well, we know why. They want to kill them off. I say that with all alacrity. It's, my bus pass must be worth more. It will be, Des. It will be. If you can get free bus travel, fantastic. But there's the poor pensioners. So they're losing the winter payments. They're travelling on the bus. It's gone up. And the food's going to go up. They're talking about inflation being 2%. My hairy backside. So they've got it in for the pensioners. I don't know whether they're basically doing this to the pensioners because then they don't have to pay much in the pensions, do they? State pensions. They are talking about state pensions going up to like 11.5 grand. So I don't know whether these fly-by-nights, these snake oil sellers are presenting it like Robert Reeves has gone, oh yeah, you don't need the winter payment, the triple lock's still in place, and it didn't make sense what she was saying, because I was listening very intently to every single word. Oh yeah, Kathy Arthur says, don't forget a penny off a pint. Oh yeah, so the pensioners have got to go out and get absolutely squiffy just to get the money back for the bus, the one bus journey that's gone up £1. Thieving bar stewards, man. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. In the field, greetings, chatters, 1p off a pint. I've got us all a party 7. Party rounded in the field. There's extra Battenberg tonight because people are going off it tonight. I think the budget's turned their stomach. Paulie Galtieri, good evening, Adrian. Yeah, absolute Battenberg wrongin'. Thank you, Paulie. Good to know you're in the body of the Kirk. Even Stephen, hello. Des Ashton, budget, blah, 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 blah. I'm with you, Des. I am with you. That hour 20 minutes, man. I was sitting there making notes as fast as I could. There's a gag there about shorthand, but no, I'm not. Peter Sadler, evening, Adrian and chat. Evening, Peter. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Stuart says, does the money in the super chat go to YouTube or this channel? Been meaning to ask for a while. Stuart, it goes to the channel, but they dip their fingers in. They do take a cut, and it's really odd because the way it works. You'll pay your super chat or your super like or super thanks, whatever it is. And I'm always very appreciative of anybody that donates, because it just is a validation of all the effort and work that I put into the channel. Even though it might not seem a lot to you, I spend days putting this together. And so say, well, what we're in October. So the money that people pay in or I get for videos in October, I get paid in November, so it's a month behind, and it's always the little bit of money that trickles in. I always look at it and think, hang on, how? And you've got a kind of a reckoner working in the background telling you how much you've earned. But I don't. This channel is not about the money for me. Although, as I say, with eBay, I stopped using eBay because I was losing 10% of all my turnover, 10% to eBay, 5% to PayPal. And I do hope that YouTube doesn't get to that point where they're saying, get memberships, get super thingies, super likes, super thanks, and they're taking a shed load of money because a lot of people have walked away from YouTube. I mean, I've been close to walking away a couple of times. Simply because you sometimes lose. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about, but thank you for inquiring, Stuart. I do appreciate it, as always. Very insightful, says in the field. That's why memberships are getting pumped on YouTube. Yes, I know, in the field. Thank you for that. They're pushing everybody, every single creator, to get into memberships. I mean, I may look at it. I did a poll one night and I said, do you want memberships? And the overwhelming feeling was, nah. But that's why I'm doing a lot more stuff on Twitter, simply because I want to get to 500 and see how it's monetized. Tried on Rumble. Nobody watches my videos on Rumble. Although, what's his face? The born-again Christian, P. Diddy's mate, Russell Brand. Do you know that there is an initiation of sorts in Diddy's world where they get you to take an egg and shove it up your arse? Look out for pictures with Russell Brand standing there with Diddy and an egg. I wonder what Russell Brand has done at those parties. Hey, Russell, if you're watching this, or any of your team, Big Dick Deviant, Diddy, did you? That's me thinking you were heterosexual, Russell. Stuart, yeah, Stuart asked that. I failed. Pennine counties don't discuss anywhere near a golf course. I used to live in the Northwest, man. I used to have a girlfriend that was from Southport. One of my mates is and family's from Southport. I know Southport very, very well. Can't tell you how. Family program. Can't tell you how, but I know Southport very well. Obviously, hibiscus. Sandra Wytham, hello, Adrian. What do you think of the Robin Hood budget, taken from the rich and giving to the poor? Well, my feeling is this: having grown up on, this is sort of my take on the budget, not the detail, but hard-boiled brand. Who wrote that? Yeah, wrong. Funny as though. Russell took an Easter egg. Must have had his ankles around his ears. My take on in my teenage years and in my 20s, I was a card-carrying member of the Labour Party. I've told you before that Sunderland is staunch red, always has been, never any Conservative voters. I'll take these off. No Conservative voters. And my dad was a Labour councillor, was at one point being lined up to be mayor of Sunderland, Labour mayor of Sunderland, but didn't. I've got other members of the family who are in Sunderland politics in the Labour Party. So Sunderland's dyed in the wool, red, Labour. I mean, somewhere near Trotsky or Marx. So, but I do believe that in my formative years, certainly, when I didn't have any responsibilities and I could just live the life, living la vida loca, it was all, I just had this feeling, and I was so staunch Labour. And then it just got a bit weird, the Labour Party. I mean, I can remember Wilson and Blair, obviously, when he got into power. I was working in the media in 97, working in London in 97, when Blair became, things can only get better, mate. Just tell me about Carol Kaplan, Tony. And, because she took a shower with Sherry. That's not, but Sherry. Anyone fancy a Battenberg Easter egg? You can't get those, surely. Man, it wouldn't surprise me. Hang on. Honestly, hibiscus is tasting fabulous tonight. And my dad was, because he was just a nutter, an utter nutter. He was a violent, drunken nutter. And I can say that because he's dead. He's not even in the ground. We burnt him and then hide his ashes somewhere. I don't know. He's not around anymore. But he was staunch Labour. I mean, rabidly Labour. And I in the end, I just wound him up. I used to go, whenever I went to see him, I would just be somewhere right of Attila the Hun, and he'd be somewhere left of Marx, and we were always butting head. But because the way life works, except in exceptional circumstances of very highly intelligent people, dear friends of mine that will always be read. People in their teenage years and maybe a bit of their 20s, they're rabidly Labour, and then they get into life, and life goes, right, how many holidays do you want? How many cars do you want? Thatcher sold off the national assets while she was selling off the housing stock to make sure that during the miners' strike and the steel industry strikes, that she knew that a striking man a man wouldn't strike if he had to pay the mortgage, because he'd have the missus giving it that. What about the mortgage? What about the mortgage? And a lot of people back in those days, they were buying council stock for 5, 10, 15 grand max for like a 3-bedroom detached house. So they were moving up, they were mobile, they were moving up in the world. And once you get into your 30s and you've got kids, that's when law and order kicks in. You want a safe community, and the Tories used to be the law and order party at a time. So I think, so having experienced the Labour Party in the 60s at a very, very young age, but still my dad was active. And then the Wilson government, I mean, he was shagging his secretaries. I mean, he looked like the most boring man on planet Earth, but he was banging two of his secretaries, the mucky old tart. No wonder he had his bloody pipe. Howie into number 10. Come up to me room, up to me office. Do you want to suck on me pipe? So that's Harold Wilson, not me, before you start. So I mean, Heath was even, I mean, I knew that I would never, ever, ever take a trip on Heath's boat into the channel. Because I might not come back. Who said that? So I watched politics with a certain amount of fascination and interest, and then Blair, things can only get fucking Robert Reeves. Sorry, language, apologies. Robert Reeves today. It was sort of a Blairite. They've had to Starmer every now and again. You can see it in his eyes. It's like an alien. All of a sudden, it kind of like flickers, and you go, "Uh-oh, he's a bit left wing." I mean, mate to Corbyn, who has to be, in my view, and I'm just jesting here, because I think Corbyn's got more integrity than the whole of the rest of the Labour Party put together. But Starmer is like, he's just this, I think the power has literally gone to his head. And he was sat there, in my view, on extra strong coffee today. And I looked at him and I thought, hang on, you've got bedhead. What you been doing? Who have you been banging, you wrong'un? He like one side of his head was all sticky up, and I was thinking, you've got a barbers in the House of Commons. You could have gone there and smartened yourself up, yeah, utter tart. And he was a bit all over the place. In his thousands of pounds suit and his £2,000 pair of glasses, at least get yourself a fucking haircut. Stuart says, you sure it was coffee? No. You have a look. Well, they make your own mind up. You go and watch it. If you get a chance to watch it, I'll see if I can get a clip and stick it on Twitter, because they'll probably say it's copyrighted on here. But if you can, he's like... And I thought, I've seen George Osborne grinding his teeth in the Houses of Parliament. We know what causes that, don't we? MDMA. Who said that? I'm hearing bloody voices tonight. It's just as well. I feel safe in my own home. Must be somebody outside. The window's open. Let's have a couple more comments, and then we'll get into stuff. We need to get into stuff called blimey. Jackie Glasgow. Who's a psycho? You're wrong. Me, you, or Starmer. Wiggy videos. He's doing a Boris, but I mean, Boris was like, and he holds a goal. Boris, blimey, he's a boy. He's got at least so many kids. He could field 2 11-a-sides. He could have the 2 sides in the FA Cup final. Starmer is morphing into Blair and a Jeremy Thorpe look-wise. Andrew James. Jeremy Thorpe. Jeremy Thorpe. You don't think he's... You know. What do you know that I don't? What was the model's name? Norman something or other. God, I can't remember his name. I can see him though. So we can talk about Robert Reeves from the get-go. I mean, I would need to have a look at my notes. I don't know whether you wanted to start with Southpaw or Robert Reeves. Should we do the budget? Because it's very well known that... So tonight we're going to talk about Southport, Right Royal Connection, Robert Reeves, we're nearly there, Rumble in the Jungle, 50 years, President Poopy Pants. The question I have for you tonight, you don't have to vote or anything, but just an existential question. Is Camel Toe Harris going to be the next president of the United States? Obviously, the Donald is going to win the presidential election. But if anything happens to President Poopy Pants, then she will have to step up as VP. I mean, look, if you look at JFK in the 60s, and he's got a bullet in his head and his brains is all over the car. Norman Scott. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, Jeremy Thorpe and Norman Scott. As a little aside, do you know what else I saw today, and I was thinking, why have they posted that? Can't remember her name, but can you remember the American? She was like a Mormon or something. She was really religious, and is it Gillian? And it was all over the news of the world. I mean, it was a huge, huge story at the time. But she wanted to ski naked down the side of a mountain with a rose in her teeth. For this, I think he was a politician. She absolutely just wanted him left, right, and centre. Hang on, what's Andrew James said now? I have a Super 8mm film of you in Colombia. Oh, I say, Andrew James, you in, Diddy? Gillian, wasn't Gillian McKee, but she was like this super religious person that was like, she just nymphomaniac, like just wanted to hold him hostage, and she just wanted him as a sex slave. I'm sure it was a politician, it was a celeb, or McKinney. Was it Joyce McKinney? Possibly Terry Wookfit. That, I mean, you've dragged that out from, that's amazing if you remembered that. And I saw this picture of her, and I remember reading it in the news of the world about what she wanted to do. She was saying this to the court. Had no shame. She's still alive somewhere. And like as a young lad, I was just thinking, oh, can somebody sort of hold me as a sex slave? Can she not do that to me? I'm, I don't know, 12, 13-year-old, but my hormones are raging, reading the news of the world, thinking, oh, the lucky tart. As in him, not her. And Joyce McKinney was, I just saw this picture of it today, and I was like, holy Jesus, where did that come from? That's really random. Anyway, so I've got, I said to you, my favourite Mormon, Terry Wookfit, mine too, is she's going to ski naked down a mountain after me. Mind you can't really run far in skis, can you? Mother Teresa. No, yeah, wrong. Not exactly that. So I'm watching this because the Democrats are evil. The Democrats are just every which way. There's all kinds of shenanigans going on. They're trying to get them out early. They're trying to get shit tons of dodgy votes out, so the paper votes. There's a guy, Des Ashton. What's the old saying? And it was Ken Livingstone that coined it. If voting changed anything, they'd abolish it. So I think it's the three-letter agencies in America that are up to stuff, and they want camel toe in. They don't want the Donald in because the Donald's already said, right, you wrong-uns. Oh, you've had a go at me, have you? Lawfare, try that. Up yours, I'm coming after you. So they're all like, oh, hang on. If the Donald gets in, what we're going to do in January? The Dole, mate. And I think that there's a power struggle going on in the background between President Poopy Pants and VP Camel Toe. So, hang on, isn't VP Visible Panty Line? VPL Camel Toe. And I think he's kind of like, oh, so you stopped me from being president for another 4 years. Hang on, what's Pennine Counties? You've just ruined the 70s for me. What are they doing? What? Harold Wilson? Want to suck on me pipe? Or was it Joyce McKinney? Hello, Joyce, if you get this. Hello. Still skiing. So I think the Black Swan event is possibly being set up for President Poopy Pants to be kind of shuffled out of the way, because if then she becomes president and something happens, then she stays as president. I promise you, I wouldn't put it past them, because power's everything in America, and the amount of money they're making out of Ukraine and Israel and around the world, they absolutely categorically want to stay in power. Oof. I mean, American politics is just grubby. I mean, Barack Obama, he looks about 250 years old. I mean, doesn't he want to shuffle off with Big Mike? The kids have left him, haven't they? Joyce McKinney now runs an animal rescue charity, looking after puppies. Bad Wolf Project, thank you for that. Is she? She get the puppies out for the lads. Asking for a friend. Stuart says, my sister hates the Donald. She was cringing when I showed her the video of him working in McDonald's. There's lots of people that do. There are lots of people that, as we were talking about on Sunday, today is Wednesday, yeah, Sunday, saggy puppies. Well, they would be at their age, but if they're being left out in the rain. Des Ashton, Mary Wilson was red leather steering wheel covered driver. Mary Wilson. I don't know whether that's Wilson's bit on the side or Mary Wilson the singer. Des. Terry Wookford, got to love Harrison Waltz on stage. Keep expecting them to burst into song like a pair of overweight average Glee fans. Oh, that's brilliant. That's very good, Terry. The Bad Wolf Project, Saggy Puppies. Yeah, we mentioned that. Pennine Counties. Yes, indeed. Clean thyself up. Oh, I say. You thinking what I'm thinking? Andrew James, yeah. Get a Trump hoodie. Ernst Goldfinger. Michael Foot. Donkey jacket. I mean, just sartorial elegance off the chart. Poor Michael. He just looked as if he was a hobo that'd been dragged through the hedge and then back through again and then said, right, stand there. We're just going to click a few and take a few pictures. But his intellect was outstanding, but just not his deportment, shall we say. The Bad Wolf Project. I have some images of saggy puppies I can email you. You're going to put me off me tea? You're wrongin'. Especially if the Joyce McKinney. She must be 80. Paulie Galtieri, Michael Foot looked like Albert Steptoe. He did. Not even as smart as, because the thing that really freaked me out in the 70s when I was a boy was Albert Steptoe. When he was in Steptoe and Son, was Steptoe and Son. But then when he wasn't on Steptoe and Son, he wasn't in character. He was very well spoken. He was very softly spoken, dressed proper dapper, and it really freaked me out. I was like, hang on, where's his fingerless gloves? They're wrong one. Foot, the focus of major KGB project in the 70s. Google it. Holly Ruston, will do. I mean, he didn't amount to much if it was the KGB, but maybe he was far too left for the KGB in Russia. Who knows? But Ernst Goldfinger, I know. Max Wall on acid. I remember Max Wall. Am I showing my age now? MAGA, Reagan, 1984 in the field, and Terry Wookford, Wilfred Bramble, very dapper man. Yes. So before I'll continue with Robert Reeves, because I know you're very keen. I want to ask a favour of you. I've been thinking about this for the last week or so, and you know this reparation argument. I thought, do you know, I should really write them a letter and use my usual vernacular. Bramble like public bogs, just like Tony Blair. Oh, is that the George Michael gag? What does Wilfred Bramble, Tony Blair and George Michael have in common with a Wellington boot? Actually, no, I can't tell that joke because he's still alive. No. What does Wilfred Bramble, Charles Linton and George Michael have in common? They all like getting sucked off in bogs. I didn't tell that joke. I need to rephrase that joke. Oh, I can't be bothered. It's just around a Wellington boot. So I wanted to write a letter to Bow Street magistrates. I thought I'd write a letter to the Caribbean. Got a hole in the back of his neck. You forgot the Wellington boot. I know. I'm kind of thinking about 10 different things. You making me brain fried, and I want to write this letter. So we're going to write a letter, me and you. Oh, Jesus H. I'm in the middle of doing something, Alexa. Yeah, the phrase is, how do we shite, man?
I'm having trouble hearing. Can you say that again?
Alexa, volume 3. I said, Hadaway and Shiteman. Hang on. You've just asked me to say it again, to repeat it, because you're going a bit Mutt and Jeff. Alexa, do you understand Cockney rhyming slang?
People often ask me for jokes about raspberry tarts. I think they're having a bubble.
No. Bubble and squig. So, Alexa, do you speak Northeastern?
I don't know that one.
Good. Hadaway and Shiteman.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Just by saying nothing and just sitting there in the corner and not interfering or interrupting while I'm about to write this letter. Do you agree? Thank you. So this letter, because there's been all these spokespeople in the media, TV, radio and press, saying, oh, we want reparation. We want loads of money. And I thought, no, aren't they? Surely not. They don't know their history, and they're presuming that we don't know our history either. Well, if you can, if you know these sites that you can go and listen to books, Audible and stuff. Search out a book called White Cargo, because these clowns think we don't know what we're talking about, and I think they'll find that I do. Because the Dutch were worse than we were. I'm going to write this letter and put a bit of Foxtrot Oscar in there with some facts. So if you'll help me, I'll write the letter while I'm on here now, live, so you can hear what I'm going to send them. But try and White Cargo, the book. I did have a copy of it. Hang on, Tocker 69 knows about White Cargo. Tocker 69, do you know about White Cargo? It's a great book, but so the slave trade, the Africans were selling Africans to the slave traders and sending them to America. And the Dutch were making their way into Africa and getting the black man and selling him to the Americas. The Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, all before us, says, oh, Bovril. I know. But are you aware? Well, let me start the letter. Are you ready? Don't forget the Portuguese. No, I wouldn't. So I want to write I'm going to start it cordially, and it's going to be, dear our friends in the Caribbean, because I thought that was friendly. Nice way to start a letter. All right. Dear our friends in the Caribbean, we've had a look at history, and we can recommend that you ask for reparations from, let's have a think, Benin, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, Ghana, and Mali. Because they captured and sold slaves to Europeans. Or weren't you aware of that? Sorry, I shouldn't put that. It's a bit aggressive. Shouldn't really put. I'll leave it at Europeans, full stop. Meanwhile, good start to the next paragraph. Meanwhile, given Britain led the way, nice intro to the next paragraph, in ending slavery, ye tarts, obviously I can't put that in because that's a bit aggressive, spending, and this is where I think I'm going to upset them, because I'm going to say, meanwhile, given Britain led the way in ending slavery, spending an astonishing, good word, 40%, 40% of our entire national budget in 1833. it's definitely going to upset them, to buy freedom for all slaves in the empire. Hang on a second. Let's see how that sounds. Meanwhile, given Britain led the way in ending slavery, spending an astonishing 40% of our entire national budget in 1833 to buy freedom for all slaves in the empire. I think that's got a certain je ne sais quoi. And a further 2% of our GDP. Should I put gross domestic product, or do you think they'll understand? Because they're not bright. Do you think they'll understand GDP? And a further 2% of our GDP on the West Africa Squadron. Do you think I need to explain that to them? Or are they not? Yeah, I will do. The West Africa Squadron, which seized over 1,600 slave ships and freed 150,000 at a cost of 1,600 Royal Navy sailors. So let's see how that. We're doing really well with this. This is quite. You're inspiring me to be verbose. And a further 2% of our GDP on the West Africa Squadron, which seized over 1,600 slave ships and freed 150,000 slaves at a cost of 1,600 Royal Navy sailors. I think that's going to upset them. What else can we say? We would like, conciliatory. We would like you to thank us. I think that's quite right and proper. It's only a letter. We would like you to thank us by offering. Yeah. Have you noticed the ones that are demanding reparation are the ones who would benefit, like David Lammy and Dawn Butler? No dog in that fight. Hey, well, let me finish my letter off, because I think this is going to be powerful. What did I say? We would like you to thank, yours sincerely, the Prince of Battenberg. Right. Yours, I haven't finished the letter yet. Yours sincerely. They might think I'm German, though. Like Phil the Greek. Yours sincerely, Prince of Battenberg. Right, that's at the bottom. I've just got to get between this bit and the bottom. So, where was I? Yes, we would like you to thank us by offering to pay 40% of our annual budget this year and 2% of our GDP. I mean, that's fair. I'll read it all back to you once we've finished writing the letter together. Offering to pay 40% of our annual budget this year and 2% of our GDP. Maybe I should put that in figures. So, dear friends of the Caribbean, that's £480 billion and £11.4 billion. You see? Yeah, that's what I'll say. Britain, that's me and you, borrowed such a large sum of money for the Slave Abolition Act. Maybe they're not aware of that, or maybe they are, but they don't understand what it is. I need to get. Yes, so. Abolition Act. It wasn't paid off until 2015. How many is that then? Hang on. 1833. That's 182 years. Right, I'll put that in. Definitely, they're getting it. It wasn't paid off until 2015. That's 182 years. The tarts. They want reparation. Paid off in 2015, so everyone who was paid tax prior to that should get a refund. Oh, I'll put that in. Yeah, I'll put that in before I say yours sincerely, Prince of Battenberg. What can I say now? Yeah, I think, in negotiation, the art of the deal with the Donald is like, what's the book that I've got here? Never Split the Difference. So I've asked for 480 billion. So I'll be really nice to them, our friends in the Caribbean, and I'll say, we can settle for 450 billion pounds if that's easier. I mean, what's 11.5 billion quid between friends? Well, if we're going to get 450, so yeah, we can settle for 450 billion if that's easier. We estimate this will be the size of Rachel Reeves' black hole. Has she got a big black hole? Maybe it's just rumours. We estimate this will be the size of Rachel Reeves' black hole next week. Hang on. It's running out of ink. Yeah, I think they probably... they're not sure. So let's not talk about Rachel Reeves' black hole. We won't put that in. Right. And was it Terry Wookfit? This means... I think that's what you said. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. But this means that living British subjects, because we're not citizens, we're subjects of the crown, which you should be in the Caribbean because we used to own land. Not me, personally, not me family, the king, the royalties, the monarchs. This means that living British subjects helped pay for the ending of the slave trade with their taxes. Yeah, we'll be really dynamic with this and say, the invoice is in the post. So should I read it to you? Thank you very much for your inspiration. I think we've come up with quite a tome, so to speak. So, dear our friends in the Caribbean, we've had a look at history and we can recommend that you ask for reparations from Benin, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, Ghana and Mali for capturing and selling slaves to Europeans. Spain, Portugal, Dutch, England, Britons if you want. Meanwhile, given Britain has led the way in ending slavery, spending an astonishing 40% of our entire national budget in 1833, you're wrong uns, to buy freedom for all slaves in the empire and a further 2% of our GDP on the West Africa Squadron. Bet they don't know what that is. We do though, don't we? Which seized over 1,600 slave ships and freed 150,000 slaves at a cost of 1,600 Royal Navy sailors. We would like you to thank us by offering to pay 40% of our annual budget this year and 2% of our GDP. That's 480 billion quid, you wrong uns. No, I shouldn't put that. That's 480 billion pounds. Britain borrowed such a large sum of money for the Slave Abolition Act. It wasn't paid off until 2015. That's 182 years it took us to pay it off. We can settle, I think it's conciliatory, entente cordiale if you want to speak French. We can settle for 450 billion quid if that's easier. We estimate this will be the size of Rachel Reeves' black hole today in the budget. So, no, I'm not going to talk about her. This means that living British subjects helped pay for the ending of the slave trade with their taxes. So if you were paying taxes up to 2015, your taxes helped pay for the end of it. The invoice is in the post. Yeah, wrong uns. Yours sincerely, Prince of Battenberg, and the parishioners in the body of the Kirk. Thank you very much, parishioners. I think that we'll send that in the post tomorrow. And in the words of the great Chinese philosopher, they can foxtrot Oscar. Hang on, I need a slurp. What was I going to talk about? Oh, did you were you aware that the bumpox is back in London? It's like every time I hear box, I think of that Hanson song. Maybe we should do another one, me and you singing. Hang on, Alan says, turn it into a PDF file and email it. What do you think I've written it for? Find the right email. The reply will be worth the wait, said Stuart. I know. I'll end up inside, next to Tommy, no doubt. So, yes, I understand from the mainstream media that the bumpox is back in London. Just the one, a traveller from Africa has come back and has got these sort of lesions on his body, and they put him in isolation, and they're like, oh my God, they why don't they just call it monkeypox? I mean, it's bad enough being called pox, but because we had that with the Black Death in this sceptred isle a long time ago. But why don't they sort of go, oh, just leave it, monkeypox? They're trying to sanitize it and make it sound attractive. Pox. No, it's not pox. It might be things that make you go, pox. But he's... that's brilliant, Lauren Taylor. Bollocks, them there Romans and Vikings owe us a fortune. They do. And I can I can virtually guarantee that, because my family line goes back to Rollo and the Vikings in the 600s. We've traced it back that far, mind you. A bit of a deviance in France for a while, but where is it? The pox is back. A traveller from Africa, first case found in London, and do you know why? Because the Who, not as in the rock band, Baba O'Reilly, not the You Better You Bet. Who are you? Who are you? The Who activates global health emergency measure. Well, fan my brow. So that's all they've wanted. So they've activated the global health emergency measure in this country, and nobody told you about it because, well, all the mainstream media are concentrating on Robert Reeves's black hole. But it's back. So shall we, before we talk about... Blimey, I've regressed. Before we talk about Southport, let's have a look at some of the stats, some of the real meaty data that came out of the budget, the autumn budget. Roger Daltrey, Bop, My Generation, great song. Do we stay at home and get furlough? Again, fill you in. Yeah, aren't the uncivil servants being allowed to work 3 days from the office and the other 2, long weekend, 4 days at home, 3 days in the office? God, blimey, what a bunch of slaggers. And their pensions are gold-plated. Never mind gold-plated, I think they're diamond-plated. So the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, they do like an acronym, don't they? So Robert Reeves in a Labour budget today, as I say, my overarching feel was it was a Blairite budget. So it was presented in a particular way. I thought she came across quite well. And she tried to crack a few gags. She's not a comedian. Clown, not a comedian. But do you know that the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, has confirmed today that the Tories borrowed £127 billion in their term of office? Where's £127 billion gone? That's the question that needs to be asked, let alone having a go at Robert Reeves. I mean, she was bad enough. But the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, has confirmed today that the Tories borrowed £127 billion. Now, they know that the Labour Party, judging by the last 2 times that they were in power, they borrow a shit ton of money and never pay it back. Most of it in the Ukraine, Adrian, says Paulie Galtieri. So they're laundering 127 billion quid in Ukraine. Ray Norton, don't tell Ukraine. I know, sniffy Zelensky, he'd be really upset. His missus, she could have had another Bugatti with all that money. She'll be really pissed off if that hasn't gone into Ukraine. But 3 billion quid a year, she can have 10 Bugattis. Notice how the French came out and went, no, she's not buying, no. Let's just wait and see if a pap photographs her. It makes me so bloody angry that I can barely speak. Bugattis cost millions. Where are they getting that kind of coin from? And the one thing that sort of stands out with Sniffy is he's always in fatigues. He's always in like a green jumper, like a green farmer's jumper, because he obviously thinks he's playing a part. He's playing a part of a leader of a country that's at war. No, look at Churchill. Churchill was quite dapper, and we were at war with the Germans. At least he had a cigar on, nice hat. Sniffy, honestly, I've seen him dance. He's the gayest looking straight man I've ever seen. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo, I suppose. So, anyway, let's keep on the budget. So, I notice also that Robert Reeves is scrapping the non-dom tax scheme. Well, there's Cockite gone. I mean, she was cracking Ann Starmer. I think he's not non-dom, but she was cracking jokes about young rich boy buggering off to California in his private jet, because she's didn't she say that they're going to up the it's in my notes, they're going to increase the tariff, and for anybody travelling cattle class, it's like £2 or something. It's not much, but anybody that's in a private jet, 450 quid each way. So if you want to fly to California and then come back, it's going to cost you an extra tariff of 900 quid, 50% on private jets. I know, Holly. I mean, I literally spat my tea out thinking, go on, Robert Reeves. I thought it was going to be the working man and woman that were going to be bent over with your pegging malarkey. But no, you're giving it to Rich Boy and, well, the Royals. Because, you know, Ginger Sfericals, he's here, there and everywhere on private jets, not necessarily his. He borrows them. Does he pay the fuel? But he's going to have to pay 450 quid each way. I mean, it's not going to be much to him. He'll just go to Daddy. Papa? Not him, you know, the Duke of Argyll or wherever it was. Because Charlie's not his dad. Oh, did I say that out loud? So, they're scrapping the non-domicile tax scheme. And the reason why they're doing that is because bloody Carnage, the Mayor of London, he had non-dom status whilst he was an MP. And you've got Rich Boy and his missus. What will Taylor Swift do? Well, it won't be a bloke. And I just noticed, a bit like watching Keir Starmer, being a bit like Space Cadetish, I also noticed that she couldn't enunciate her words, and she was enunciating her words very carefully, and she slowed. Who just said that? Stuart, stop it! You're making me laugh, man. She was slowing her presentation down, enunciating her words, and then when she got to saying, "We're going to scrap the non-dom scheme," and there was a bit of kerfuffle. Oh, bloody hell, Robbo, what you doing? That kind of malarkey behind hands. She said, "Oh well, yeah, it's going to take 3 years to implement the scheme." In the field says there's going to be loopholes for the private jets. Does it apply to owners or charters or both? Good question. Probably both. Because the cattle class, £2 will apply to whether it's, a firm or you've done it your own. A bit like the city taxes in Europe. There's loads of city taxes in Europe. We've paid them everywhere. Bloody hell, even in Venice recently. So, when she was talking about this non-dom status, she started to sort of trip over her words and wasn't enunciating it, because you can almost guarantee some of her backers, the Labour Party backers, and other lords that are putting shit tons of money in, they're going to have to But 450 quid, it's not even a round of drinks to these people, so they won't particularly care. It's going to be 3 years to implement it. And she was being a bit mealy-mouthed. She was not enunciating her words very clearly. There is no tax on boats coming into the UK, mind, says Paulie Galtieri. I agree with you. They've never stopped the boats, and they didn't. Any of them. Any of the parties. No, they didn't stop them. They were wanting them in. 1.7 million extra in this country from the boats. Mind you, I will give you this as value for watching the live tonight. Tony Blair was the man that started all of this, and I'll tell you for why. Germany was taking over 100,000 asylum seekers. This is sort of like 97, 98, 99. Germany were taking 100,000 a year. France was the next biggest one with about 40,000. And we were taking in about 20,000 a year. And Germany sent out a missive to France, us, and everybody else saying, "Oi, you're wrong uns. You're going to have to take your fair share because we're literally sinking under the weight of 100,000 asylum seekers a year." And Tony Blair got us into the Treaty of Rome, which meant that we had to open our borders. So Germany, France, and everybody else went, "Oh, just here, bugger off. Yeah, go across to the English. They're a bit mad, but they're warm and cuddly. It rains a lot, so you might end up with a rusty bonce, but they're nice people, and they'll give you a phone, and they'll give you money, and they'll give you hotels." And that's how we've ended up with so many, because back in 97, 98, the Germans were squealing because they were taking too many in the field. When the boat comes in, my favourite TV, go down to Dover, you'll see them all day, every day. But do you know that how they work out when to come over? It's about the swell in the sea. So long as they get into our waters, then we have to pick them up and bring them ashore, because sometimes they don't make it ashore. But it's if the wave swell is 0.5 or less, you can guarantee they'll leave France and try to head over here. If the wave swell is 0.5 or above, then fewer boats come across. We won't have a fishy on a little dishy when the boat comes in. Oh. So, staying with the budget today, you're getting a penny off your pint. They're not going to up fuel duty, but as I have said before, and they don't explain this very clearly, that what the oil companies have done in collusion with the government, whether it be the Tory boys or whether it's the pegging Labour, I said to you that when we were all in lockdown, the price of a litre of fuel, and I've no idea why it dropped, because if you think about it, nobody's using it, so why would it drop? It was down to 80 odd p a litre. Now, we hadn't seen those kind of prices for fuel since, can you remember in 2000 when there was the fuel strikes? And the fuel strikes happened where all the lorry drivers were clogging up the motorways. It was over the summer of 2000, where the reason why they did all that, the lorry drivers and stuff, they did that because the price of a litre of fuel went up from high 50s to 60 odd p a litre up to mid 80s p a litre. I mean, for those days again. That was only 20 years ago. And it was all brought about by OPEC, the oil producing exporting countries, because they had had a meeting to say that the price of a barrel of oil was going through the floor. It was literally like $5 a barrel. It was something stupid. And they were squealing because they weren't making any profit. They weren't making any money. And the OPEC, and this is 2000, 1999, 2000, they met, the oil producing exporting countries, OPEC, met to agree that the minimum price of a barrel of oil would be $20. And they started to increase the price of a litre of fuel at the pump from, as I say, high 50s, low 60s, up to 85p. So it was a 30% increase. And it all kicked off in 2000. So in lockdown, I was watching the price of a litre of fuel and it went down to 80 odd p. And I was thinking, blimey, it's never been this low since 2000 when it all kicked off. So what they did was, and you know this, it's factual, that it went up to £2 a litre of fuel. And the reason why, in my view, they did that was because they wanted to increase the price. But if they'd increased the price to where it is now, I don't know, 130, 140, the reason why they did that is they took it to £2 a litre, so that when it came back down to 150 a litre, everybody breathed a sigh of relief and thought, wonderful, it's gone down 50p a litre. Instead of, oh, the thieving bastards, it's up to 150 a litre. Holly Ruston can remember when petrol used to cost less than £1 a gallon. Amalia agrees. They do it with all sorts. So they overinflate it and everybody starts sweating and thinking, gee, wow, that's £2 a litre. And then they bring it back down going, oh, we've done this for you and we've done this for you. Aren't we lovely? Aren't we a great government? Aren't we lovely politicians? No, you thieving bastards. You've just crippled us. You've just done our knees. It still has not gone back down to less than 120 a litre. Because it was around about 110, 112, lockdown, down to 80 odd p, and then we come out of lockdown, woof, straight back up. And I was thinking maybe I should have bought all the fuel in the country at that price. But I'll also give you this, and this is fact, that 2/3 of the world's oil at any one time is afloat. So there are tankers all over the seas carrying shit tons of oil that go to the refineries and come out as diesel and petrol. But at any one time, 2/3 of the world's oil is afloat because they're buying and selling it, buying and selling it, buying and selling it. But I think the last time I looked, price of a litre of fuel is about 125. So Robert Reeves today says, the OBR, we're not going to bring any more fuel duty in. Of course they're not. Because then me and you and the others, not the right-wingers, because everybody's right-wing if you go and protest, everybody will be out on the streets going, oh, yeah, thieving tarts. Stuart says, my sister spends a fortune on petrol every week because she needs the car for travelling to and from different counties for work. I feel very sorry for anyone that drives for their job, because the amount of money people are spending on fuel nowadays is just obscene. But there are other reasons why they're doing that to us, and I'll try and fit it in with what I'm about to say, because obviously the Tories didn't care. Try Aldi about 60p, get a free bag with it. I remember Heinz chicken soup was 40p a tin. Now it's over £1. I know, Paulie, the absolute thieving bastards. I mean, I don't trust a supermarket as far as I can spit them, because before we went into lockdown and all that, buying all the bog roll malarkey, they had the shelves stacked high with lots of different products, and then they just cut their product lines. And now you can't get anywhere near as much stuff as you used to be able to in a supermarket. I don't trust them. And even, buying my fuel from Costco. Not every Costco has the ability to buy the fuel. They just knock off the VAT, I think. So it's normally about 5 or 6p cheaper than the cheapest supermarket. And I think the supermarkets are about 129. So Costco's about 124, 125. But even so, it's still massively inflated. And the Labour Party weren't going to add fuel duty because they know we would have been kicking off. Stuart says she travels from Dublin to Galway. That's quite a way. To Limerick, to Meath, she said she spends more on petrol than anything else. Well, I hope it's a good job for her, Stuart, because spending that amount of money is awful. Awful, awful, awful. So the Tories didn't care. And ordinarily, what happens as an overseeing view is Labour borrow a shit ton of money. The government and the uncivil servants are kind of bloated by so many people. And that's what the Labour Party do. They do government. And that's what they spend all their money on. The Tories come in and don't borrow. They fiscally try to put a strangle on all the shit that Labour have done. But what the Tories did was they knew that they weren't going to get in and possibly weren't going to get in for more than one generation. So they just borrowed 127 billion quid. Who said that? That's very, very insightful. Labour will be going to the IMF, International Monetary Fund, in time for a bailout. I know, they were speaking to them over the last couple of days. The IMF were mentioned today by some of the mainstream media commentators. So the people that I feel sorry for, there's me and you, and this is what I meant to say at the very beginning. I come from a council estate. And on this council estate, as I was growing up, girls that left school were me. The career move was having kids. So they would knock all the kids out when they were 16, 17, 18. They would knock them out early, get as many kids as they could, because then they got free flats. They got any amount of money for kids and clothes and food. And it was a career move. Rather than going work for a living, why would I want to work for a living when I can just lie on my back and knock out kids? That's what they used to do on my estate. Fact. And I will guarantee you that there's still that kind of person around. But Labour take pity on them. Here's a free flat. They can't give them hotels because you know who's staying in hotels. Here's a nice flat. There, you get some money to decorate it, and we'll give you dole money every week, and we'll give you money to help you with the kids. Where's the dad, by the way? Oh, don't know who he is. How many dads have these kids got? They've got a few uncles. So the Labour Party today are fueling that kind of decision-making process again, where the slackers can just lie on their backs, knees apart, knocking the kids out, and they'll get a shit ton of money from the government. The old Bovril says, how much help did you give those girls? Open the door for them. Gentlemen. But that's, I mean, we're talking a long, long time ago. Tax-free benefits. But the hardest hit for me, so the slackers are going to love the Labour Party for the next 4 years. All the benefits, all tax-free, start knocking kids out. And you know the other thing, I was going to mention this, where's things to make you go, I was going to say that the birth rate has gone through the floor. So obviously, in Second World War, we had Dig for England. In the 70s, we had free Butter Mountain, free Milk Lakes, and 2024, it's going to be fuck for England. And you think I'm joking? Because the women need to start knocking out at least 2 kids each, because they're down to 1 kid each, and the country's not going to survive. So never mind, stay calm and carry on. It's going to be knees open, keep fucking for England, if you pardon my French. Fill you in, Adrian. Back in the days of real radio, did you have groupies? Gentleman never tells. Yeah. So they're going to want anybody coming into the country to kind of hook up with the youth. Andrew James says, my sister knew a few girls who did that. They would keep track of their periods to the perfect date, also to know when to have another kid when the other children were reaching 5 years old. I know, it's a money-making exercise. And as I say, keep calm and carry on. 2024's version of that is going to be start knocking kids out. Yeah, hit the likes, you wrong'uns. We've only got 77. There's nearly 200 people watching. So the people that I felt sorry for are not the slackers, not the council estate ne'er-do-wells, for want of a better word. They're going to make the money. They know how to play the system. They don't have to do anything. They think that life is just about kind of laying there and getting off your nut on recreational gear and having as much sex as possible. No, life's not about that. Life is about learning lessons that your soul is here to learn. Now, I'm not going to get tree hugging hippie on you, but they just don't get it. And then when something weird or tough happens to them, they don't have the filters or the life skills or the tools to be able to deal with it. Hang on a second. Terry Woodford, let's speculate on the soap star arrested for abusing 5 underage boys. Terry, I would love to. But remember back in the day when Hugh the pervert, when there was all that speculation, and some people got it very, very wrong. I mean, I know some YouTubers, one in particular, made a video or spitting venom about Jeremy Vine. Yeah, Stuart, yeah. Joseph Campbell, life is about meeting yourself, as I've said before. Finding out who you are, really, at great depth. So, for the moment, I'm not going to speculate. I have a few names in the frame, but again, when the Savile thing all blew up, there were some BBC names that were uttered. Some left the country. I'm not going to go any further than that. And there was a lot of very worried people. I had a conversation the other day. Somebody mentioned a name, and I told them the background, and they were like, "No." Yeah, that's being bandied about. So I don't want to speculate because that would get us into real trouble. Paulie Galtieri, Len Fairclough teaching him to swim. Yeah. Gave him a thumbs up. So the people that thank you, Terry. Maybe we it's a conversation for private, not for a public arena like this. Otherwise, I can get into a lot of trouble. Some dating apps are offering the boat people free gold membership to top their dating apps. No way, Bad Wolf Project. I mean, I know that they want women on these apps, but so why would they want blokes on there? And anyway, if they're of a particular religious or theological leaning, they're not supposed to, are they? But having a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, oof. I know who the YouTuber is because I've seen the video of him. Thank you, Stuart. Very clever, but I'm not going to succumb. So the people that I felt sorry for in today's budget was actually the farmers. Because they're Benny from Crossroads. He used to run a lap dancing, Ray Norton. Didn't Benny from Crossroads used to run a lap dancing club in Birmingham. So the people I felt sorry for are the farmers. And I was doing some research a little earlier. So they've said, anything under $1 million, you can pass on. Everything above $1 million, you're going to pay 20% on inheritance tax. So about £1 million inheritance tax equals 60, let's just arbitrary, 65 to 70 acres. Now that's in some standing only a small holding. I'm not going to talk about my small holding. That definitely will get us into trouble. But a generation will lose a lot of farmland. So that got me thinking. Who's buying a shit ton of land in America? Bill Gates, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. But mainly BlackRock. BlackRock now owns 47% of the land in Ukraine. And these people are looking at, let's take, Israel, Gaza, the war around the Black Sea and Ukraine. These people, what they do, a bit like the landmines that Diana was so interested in, they sell you the landmines, and then when the war's over, they come back and go, do you want us to get rid of them? So these companies, that's how Dick Cheney made was he chairman of Halliburton? Dick Cheney made a shit ton of money from Iraq. Halliburton went in and said, "Oh, we'll rebuild everything. We'll be the middleman. We'll rebuild everything. So the war in Ukraine will come to an end very soon, when the Donald is in there. And then all of a sudden, these companies, Bill Gates, BlackRock, Vanguard, all of these type of companies, and Halliburton will be in there rebuilding Ukraine to the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars, let alone trillions, and they'll own shit tons of land." So that's what they've started today in this budget. It may take them a generation or two, but there's farmers saying, look, when I die, my kids will take this over, but we've got more than £1 million of assets. So say, arbitrary figure, say that the assets of the estate is £1,600,000. So all of a sudden, they're having to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds in inheritance tax, say 120. The reason why I said £1.6 million is because it would equate to about 120 grand. So all of a sudden, you'd have to pay hundreds of thousands. And the estate couldn't handle that. They would literally just have to sell it off. And then there would be capital gains tax. So for the people that work the land and give us all of the benefits of growing our food in this country, the farmers wouldn't be able to do anything. They would just have to sell their farms off, either sell it to the farms around them, but once they sell it to the farms around them, then those farms, when the main owner of the estate goes, then inheritance tax is charged there. But there will be, I will guarantee you, there will be companies sitting there waiting to buy it all up. So over a generation's about 20 years. So give it 40 or 50 years. We won't be here, obviously, because I'm an old boy. I'll be off my perch in 20 years. So another couple of generations, farmers are not going to be able to do it. The farmers will leave the industry. They'll have had enough, sell up, done. BlackRock buying land for fun, says Ray. The Crown Estates, says Des. You will own nothing and be happy, says In the Field. You've got it. You've got their shtick. You know what they're doing now. So when Robert Reeves stands up and goes, yeah, we're going to introduce inheritance tax for farmers up to £1 million. You and I know, because we're not stupid, and we can join the dots very easily. So in one generation, in 20 years, a lot will lose the farmland, and it's going to be bought up. So, as I say with the council estates and fertility rates, I'm going to ask a very personal question. Don't need to answer it in the comments, you tarts. But hands up, those have not been shagging. We've got to start shagging for England, because the fertility rate in England and Wales has fallen to its lowest level since records began in 1938, pre-Second World War. The biggest decline in fertility rates is amongst women in the 20 to 24 and 25 to 29 age groups. Their body count must be immense. Wow, Des Ashton, X1 combine harvester, 440 grand. So that's the latest data. And some of the other bits and pieces that came out in the other inheritance, it's staying at 325, but now they're adding pensions into inheritance tax. So you work hard, you try and do your best, you try and get to a comfortable place in your life, and these thieving tarts, the Labour Party, are going, Ray, that's funny, that's proper funny. And what they're doing is they're looking at people that have grafted their nuts off. They haven't sat in council estates. This is why I mentioned it. They haven't sat on council estates and knocked multiple kids out so they can get more benefits because they're having more kids. They've not done that. They've gone out, learned professional skills and reputations, doctors, solicitors, professional people. They've gone out and absolutely bust their nuts to do well in life. And now these thieving left-wing Marxists are going to take all the money. Oh, yeah, your pension pot, how much is that? Oh, yeah, we'll take some of that. Thieving tarts. That's all I can call them. Let's get to let's just talk very briefly about the Rumble in the Jungle, because I don't know whether you can remember that. And then I'm going to go straight to Southport, because I do believe that these clowns in the Pink Palace in London, they've been gaslighting us. And I will explain. Tracy the Celibate Sinner. Father Kilkenny, old chap, is like an old Model T Ford. Started by hand and jump on it while it's still going. Brilliant. I used to work on little two-stroke engines. Used to have to crank it up to get it going. Mind you, if the crank stayed on the engine, you used to have to run a mile because it would ping that up like a couple of 100 feet. And if it came down and got you on the bonds, done. That's a very good point, Del Ashton. A repeat of Brown's pensions raid. So they're looking at people that have tried to do their best in this life. They've worked hard. They've put a bit of to one side in a private pension possibly, so that when they get to a pensionable age, they can be comfortable and not have to rely on winter fuel payments that they're going to take away from you, so that you're going to get so cold in the winter, the old boys and girls are going to die, which is an outrageous state to be in one of the G7 countries, one of the most profitable, one of the most well-to-do countries in the world. So, we'll get into these clowns first, because I'll go to Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, because that's something to be revered, something that is wonderful. So we're being gaslit. Who are we being gaslit by, Adrian? Well, the mainstream media are telling you it's your fault. What do you mean, what? It's your fault. You're right-wing thug. It's your fault. So the mainstream media are pointing at you, telling you. So when you hear Keir Starmer going, it's the right-wing thugs, hang on a second. So you're doing what you're doing, and what you're doing on top of that is pointing at us. And our reaction to what you're doing, you're telling us is wrong? You absolute clown of a man. How very dare they? In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, you can foxtrot Oscar, mate. So, free gear Kia. Yeah, you lot, Tice. They'll come back from that, though. Richard Tice, worth 100 million, that man. So he's going to be a bit loose lips, sink ships. But I think Farage, and another. We'll get to something about Farage, which I'm apoplectic with rage about. Farage will take him to one side and go, here, Diggy, mate, chill, body lad, chill, because that could cost us the election in 2029, and especially the local elections coming up next year. So they're building a political party from the ground up. The thing that made me really angry today is the left-wing media are calling the recent demonstrations, because that's what they were, and I've told you before, the things that I reference and give you examples of is the fact that Sunderland, Hartlepool, Middlesbrough, there's not a right-winger in anywhere in the northeast. They are staunch. Generation after generation after generation, they're red, they're Labour, and they're telling me, coming from the northeast, oh, it was right-wing thugs. It was right-wing thugs that turned the cars over and set them on a light. Unless They had agents provocateurs, government agents provocateurs, creating all that shite. Absolutely, categorically, there's no right-wing thugs in the northeast of England. I'm born and bred there. I know my people. And today, the left wings were calling them the Farage riots. He had nothing to do with them. So have you seen how very cleverly they are branding them this thing, so that at any point in the future, the rest of the media will reference the Farage riots when the poor guy had nothing to do with them. Nothing. And it's, wasn't it Goebbels who the propagandist used to say that if you accuse other people of the very thing that you're guilty of, people will believe you. So the mainstream media now will be referencing these disturbances and these demonstrations as the Farage riots. They're cheeky, cheeky bastards. Because that's evil. The guy had nothing to do with him, but they're branding the riots so that at some point in the future, and this is the political classes, because they're scared absolutely shitless of Nigel Farage and reform. They are scared shitless of them because they don't want people or a political party upsetting their status quo where they have the power. Oh, it's democracy. What? The choice of either the Tories or Labour. I mean, the Lib Dems are just a curiosity. They're absolutely worth nothing, in my view. Let's ask about Ed Davey and what he did for the post office workers. So they've done it now so that the rest of, so what happens is you've got the mainstream media. This is in my experience of working in the media, television, radio, newspapers for 40 years. Somebody breaks cover, and what can I use as an example? John Leslie. Remember the John Leslie case? And he went to court and was absolved. He was found not guilty. But nobody knew who the man was that seemingly Ulrika had said had raped her, gone round to her flat and raped her. But she would never tell anybody. And then it was Matthew Wright on his mid-morning Channel 5 show that named John Leslie. And it was a mistake, but they both had the same managers. So I couldn't quite work out why that had happened. And it wasn't John Leslie. I know who it was. Can't say. They're still alive and they're litigious. But it didn't take many of the people within the media to know who it was, but it wasn't John Leslie. And I know John. Shagger, but good man. And the way that he was treated was just obscene. It was awful. And somebody named him, and the rest of the media, like a feeding frenzy, a pack of wolves, just fed on him. Any story, any link, any angle, they just fed on him, fed on the news story. And poor John, it was literally the end of that stage of his career, simply because one person had said something and everybody else fed on it. So I was listening to multiple different mainstream media outlets today calling them the Farage riots. Ooh, that's very naughty, because there's no evidence to say that that is so. So it's a lie. The mainstream media lying. No, don't be silly. They never do that. My hairy backside. So they're all lying. They're all colluding. They're all at it because they want to kill off Farage and reform before we get anywhere near a general election. And I promise you, they will not stop at that. All it takes is one person to ruin someone. That's why I used the John Leslie example. So let me take this back to where I wanted it to go. And in your head, can you remember the pictures of Free Gia Kia and Yvette Cooper laying flowers in Southport? They were gaslighting us. Now, some may say that that's what you need to do as a political party or as a politician. You need nowadays to have control over social media and the mainstream, whether it be TV or newspaper. Gene Psychic says YouTube is like a new radio, but visual as well. I agree with you, Gene. But these clowns, you see, the audience is much more sophisticated now. We've all had the wonderful romance of radio and late night radio and phone-in radio. We've had newspapers that would report factually on things and would give us insight and context. But now it's just propaganda. That's all it is. Newspapers, I've told you before, the only thing they never get wrong is the price on the front of the newspaper. And they literally will just spout shite. Now, the reason why I buy the newspapers and I keep the newspapers is because when we get to a point where politicians say something or they reference something from 3 or 4 months ago, a bit like Scove, I've got it all. The thing is that some commentators, all we need is Radio Gaga. Exactly, Alan. The thing is that some of the commentators, some of the social commentary channels on YouTube can't remember what happened last week. They're just kind of riding this crest of the wave. What I hope to do with this channel and for you is to give you insight and context to major news stories. Holly Ruston, as the Stereophonic said, it only takes one tree to make 1,000 matches. It only takes a match to burn 1,000 dreams. Oh, very deep, Holly. Lovely. Very deep. So let's, and we have to be very, very careful here. There cannot be a free-for-all around this story. We know what happened because it was in the media, and we take our knowledge from what has been reported. But reporting has now got restrictions on it. But what I'm wanting to talk about is not the case per se. I want to talk about the political response to the case. And I believe, and knowing what I know, that the day of the event, the police would have known who it was and would have been to the home address. And this is where we have to be very careful, but it will give you insight. If they had found, the police had found anything in any home address, and this goes for any home address around the land, if they meet with something that they're unsure of or concerned about, and I'm talking about whether it's white powder and drugs, or whether it's stuff. That's all I want to say. But I'm doing this slowly so I can take you with me. So when the police go in to any address and they find something, first people they will notify is the fire brigade. And they will use bio suits, and it will be multi-agency. And I will guarantee you that the police will have had to have, and this will go up the food chain. I mean, I know there was a chief constable saying stuff, and she's been proven to be say untrue things. And again, I'm trying to dance around this. But if they came into my house, so I've been a bit of a wrong 'un, and there's been word that I'm up to something, The police would come. They would kind of knock on the door because they don't want to put the door in, but police will put the door in, as will the fire brigade. And from the beginning, when they put the door in, they have officers standing there and waiting there to put the door back on its hinges or put a new door on. Fire brigade will tell you. Ambulance, if they need a door putting in because there's a fear for someone's safety inside, they'll ask the police to attend, or the fire brigade. And you know that, just as a little aside, and this is from me to you for your information, if someone elderly has fallen at home, most people will call ambulance and or possibly police. No, call the fire brigade, because the fire brigade are there to help with people that have fallen. So they will gain entry to property, house, flat, and then they'll get ambulance to come and look at the person. So if there's something medically wrong with the person, ambulance will deal with it. But getting into a house, if someone has fallen and can't get up, can't use a telephone, can't, sometimes they have pull cords with emergency alerts on it, get the fire brigade there. So say I'd done something and the police had to come through my door. They'd bash the door in, front door, not back door. You don't need to bash my back doors in. And they would come in. And if they're looking for something, if I'd been up to something and they were looking for something, then they would search the whole house. And they have ways of doing it. So if they then find something and they go, whoa, don't know what that is, it's not for the police to find out. I have a key safe. Yes, Lionel. Alexa also rings emergency. Wow, wonderful. Key safes are very good. Very, very good. Is your number registered with the police? Because, you know, a door, it's infinitely better to bash a door in and get the person and get them to a place of safety than just kind of stand outside going, what do we do? Have a word with the neighbours, but get the door in. And if they find anything in my house that they're unsure of, they'll get specialists in immediately. Now, in the field, I know that police said the amount was not a danger to the public. Now, what you need is only a pinprick worth. Georgie Markov, 1978, umbrella attack. I know. And I was doing some research earlier today, and there was even there was a father and son in County Durham. County Durham? Who had some. There's been loads of attacks, mainly in America, using this. And I was sure that there was a similar attack on the Japanese underground in Tokyo. And that, was it that? I mean, I can't remember. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the attack on the Japanese underground a few years ago. But when the police get into the property and they find something like in my bathroom or, you know, in an office or a bedroom, and they're unsure, they have a duty of care to themselves to leave it. Oh, Sarin, thank you. Thank you, Holly. They have a duty of care to themselves. So they would get themselves to a place of safety, and then they would call it in, and they would normally go up to inspector level or even above. If it's something like this, then, or if it was terrorism related, it would go up the food chain. So the cops, PCs, wouldn't make the decision. The decision would be solely based on, and they have the police, fire brigade, and ambulance have representatives that work together with the other emergency services in a situation like this. And they would all work together. This was not the police going into somewhere and then deciding, oh, what's that then? Oh, yeah, all right then. It's taken a lot of work. But, yes, Joint Emergency Services Interoperability, JESIP, yes. I can't remember what that stands for. Rats. Anyway, So they knew on the day that they went into that property what the deal was. I also get that the press, loose lips sink ships. Yeah. Thrive, risk assessment. It has to go all the way up the food chain, possibly to the executive command of the force that is working there. So it would have been Merseyside Police. It has to go all the way to the top, because they're threat, harm, risk, investigations, vulnerability, and engagement. Thrive. Blue light, ambulance, police. I think the fire brigade now use it. Threat, harm, risk, investigation, vulnerability, and engagement. So the risk assessment has to be, Thrive has to be worked for the fire brigade force, or the ambulance trust, or the police force. They have to. There is, take the fire brigade. They have to make sure that there's no risk to their force. There's a reputational risk. So they have to do everything by the book. And I'm sure it was. But I'm talking about, so I'm trying to give you insight and context to what possibly went on. And from what people are saying in the comment, a lot of people know. But you've got clowns. Clowns to the left of me, jokes to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle of you. They would have known. They would have been briefed. The politicians would have been briefed. So one member of the public said certain things on social media and has been jailed for years. He wasn't wrong. So that man needs to be let out of jail immediately with compensation, because that's the right thing to do if these clowns, these politicians are saying this. That man needs to be taken out of prison and apologized to. But they can do that by saying, look, give him some insight and context, but compensate him for being wrong. Because these clowns have been. So, as I say, they were jailing people for posting on social media, and they, the political classes, have closed down any avenues for you. So I don't want to go into the case. I want to talk about the political responses to what was going on. And people were afraid. People wanted to know. Whenever people are afraid, they do irrational things. But people were demonstrating, in my view, because they felt there was a threat to their community, there was possibly a threat to their family, there was possibly a threat to them individually, and we look to our political leaders because they know stuff. They've got all of these briefings, they've got all of this information coming to them from different agencies. It's filtered, and to give, I can't give Keir Starmer any credit at all, because of the humongous mistakes he's made as a tyrant since he got into power. But he's the decision maker. And not all the information gets to him. Sometimes there are people under him, civil servants or unsnivel servants. They take decisions because sometimes they feel, it's not important enough, and they just put it in a briefing. So the Chief Constable of Merseyside Police might not have been given any more information until, and most police forces have this for their Chief Constable, they have a briefing sheet or whatever it is, document that's given to the executive, the assistant chief constables, the deputy and the chief constables. They get a briefing the following morning for their executive meeting, and whatever went on, and I'm not referencing it, would have been in that briefing for the chief constable the following day. And what I believe is happening, if I can use this analogy, is it's almost online kettling. So you know that the Met would use this this process where they would gather people in a really tight space, and it's called kettling because it would just go off with the pressure. So I believe it's online kettling, but before we would have had late night phone-ins where we could just discuss stuff in safety. The newspapers would give us context and insight because they could give us detail of things. But because the newspapers just give us propaganda, there's no insight being given to anything unless it's showbiz, unless it's Scove and he's peccadillos, or Hugh and his photographs. They can give us all that detail. They'll actually go on a limb with some of them, like Hugh Edwards. But when it comes to the political processes, parties, classes, they will say nothing, nothing. But I believe what was happening around Southport is that people were not being heard. And this was from both sides, both communities in the Northwest, shall we say. People weren't being heard. They had communities demonstrating outside of police stations. There were people in Southport, and I've said this to you before, that they were demonstrating because they were fearful. They were all acting from fear, and the people were not being heard. They just want to be told, and they weren't being heard. I mean, look, I'm sure you are with me when I say we want a fair trial with a just conviction that can't be overturned. We the people, the tail's wagging the dog. The political classes and the politicians should be acting in our best interests and on our behalf, not withholding things, because there was a lot of fear running around, quite rightly. I'm not sure that the words cover up are applicable, but I know that there will have been people that knew very quickly what was going on. Very quickly. And I think the reason why the whole country is up in arms, forget the budget, forget what's happening in America, the reason why people are up in arms is because why was this released now? We know that governments, successive governments, manipulate the media. There's deals done. Newspapers are in debt now. Newspapers can't run. They're running out of money. And they get a lot of advertising from governments. So politically, it's good for newspapers just to go along with the propaganda. They don't care. So long as they're making money, they don't care what they report. So long as they can put something on the front where you go, oh, that's interesting enough, I'll buy that today. And I know that when I go for my morning papers, if there's a big story, I've got to go there at least an hour earlier because people will go and buy the newspapers because they want to know what's going on. Irrespective of whether it's true or not and what they're reporting is utter bollocks or not, people do because they're looking for information. They're looking for insight and context. So I'm not going to say to you, there was or there wasn't a cover-up by the political classes. But as I say, I feel sickened to the core of my being that they're describing the disturbances and demonstrations as the Farage riots. That's been promulgated. They've been told. They have been told to describe it like that because the political classes want Reform and Farage and Tice gone. So we've been able to talk about it, and I've been able to give you some experiential insight into how things are without affecting anything else. And like I say, sub judice just is translated as under a judge. That's all sub judice is, but it's a very powerful political process that you can go to jail for, quite rightly. But I also think that the reason why Keir Starmer is having a really bad time of things at the moment, I mean literally on a daily basis, is because, and if you'll allow me to speak for you, my take on it all is we feel let down. There was this, he was campaigning on change. He was campaigning for the benefit of the country, for the benefit of your family, for the benefit of your community, and for the benefit of the country. And now we're like over 100 days, over 3 months in. And do you feel let down? What's the first rule of government? Protect the people. First rule. Do you feel you've been protected around this? Whether it's the boats or whether it's other communities, do you feel protected by the very people responsible for your protection? Now, what happened today at Westminster Magistrates Court? This individual, the suspect, has been remanded in custody with the trial expected in January. No further reporting details. They won't. They'll string this out. So they'll try and put things in place so you forget about it. Going up to Christmas, you'll forget about it. Everybody just gets into the swing of Christmas. And we're not that far away from that, to be fair. I mean, next one is Bonfire Night, November the 5th. We've got Halloween coming up, Bonfire Night, and then almost 6 weeks into Christmas. So it's going to race. And Starmer, he's a very clever political operator. You don't get to be Prime Minister by being a fool of sorts. But he wins again. All will go quiet until the trial in January. That's it. Very quickly, because we've been on quite a while, and I thank you for staying with me this evening, and thank you for allowing me to be a little slower in explaining certain things, and I hope you feel you've had some value and insight into kind of what's gone on. It's very difficult to explain things without getting into big trouble. Sub judice is a very powerful legal process, and I know that there will be people on YouTube that get it wrong. I can only do it my way with the understanding that I have. So let me say a couple of things to make you go, If people feel let down by today's budget, Labour only have themselves to blame. It was clear very early on that they were going to romp home in July's election. That gave them something extremely rare in politics. I will describe it as a risk-free chance. A risk-free chance to be honest with me and you, the voters. They could have warned the country that there would need to be both tax rises and spending cuts, and still would have won handsomely. And now be in a better position politically to do what they think needs doing, time and time again, the lie returns, knife in hand, to confront the liar. But still, they do it. That's my take on what's gone on today. They could have done everything so much differently. But is it because they're taking orders from an NGO, non-governmental organisation, or somebody outside this sceptred aisle that is telling them what to do? When actually we are looking at our politicians to politically lead us through these choppy waters. Do you feel that they're doing that? I'll say something else that might make you go, If Donald Trump is so dangerous, why weren't the consequences of his first term much worse? I'll say that to you again. If Donald Trump is so dangerous, why weren't the consequences of his first term much worse? In today's budget, Robert Reeves said £23 billion extra for the NHS. But I'll ask you this question that possibly will make you go, How much of that £23 billion will be swallowed up before it reaches the patients? Now, remember at the beginning of the live I told you about a politician that has made £10 million in his time as an MP? It's that snake in the grass. London Mayor Sadiq Carnage. He's made £10 million whilst he's been an MP. He published his tax returns, the personal tax returns, which showed he's made more than £10 million in income and capital gains since becoming an MP. Just a question. Where did that all come from? 80 odd grand a year as an MP. Where did 10 million come from? Things to make you go, And my final thought, Keir Starmer's described installing his new cat flap in a bomb-proof door as a little difficult. Well, I think you'll find not as difficult as having you removed from number 10, OBVs. And Diddy this is the final thing. And for those that didn't stay, well, you missed out on it. Diddy, as in P. Diddy, is deeper in the doo-doo. I wonder why, though. What are you talking about, Adrian? Let me give you some names. I'll let you do your research. I'll let you join the dots. Oprah Winfrey is being named as being involved with the P. Diddy freak-offs. Okay. Tyler Perry is being named as one of those enjoying the freak-offs and the parties at P. Diddy's house. What are you saying, Adrian? Seemingly, who was Meghan Markle's best friend? Oprah Winfrey. Whose house did Meghan and Harry stay in? In between houses, once they came down from Canada? Tyler Perry, Adrian. So, two regular attendees, as in Oprah and Tyler Perry, regular attendees at P. Diddy's parties, and Ginger Sphericals is pictured with P. Diddy. So I'm going to ask you this. What was the Portuguese holiday home for? Is that Ginger Sphericals getting out of Dodge because the heat was becoming too much? Or has she gone quiet because the game's up? I'll ask you a further question. I don't know the answer to it, but I know that the two of them said, we met online. It was a blind date. Harry cooked a roast chicken dinner for us. So they can't keep that story straight. I'll ask you this question. I've already set out the premise with Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. Did Harry, who has been to P. Diddy's parties, did he meet his now wife at a P. Diddy party. I think there's more to come out about that. But I know nobody else has put the dots together. My name's Adrian Allen. If you could, smash the likes on your way out of the body of the Kirk. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. I really appreciate doing these lives because we can get some wonderful information out in context and insight. Be well, stay safe. Don't forget the Battenberg, and the journey continues Sunday at 8. See you then.